Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how to do basic cable stitches. For cables you will need a cable needle, and cable needles are, they kind of look like this. They come in aluminum or plastic or even bamboo. And while this is sort of the standard shape, there's newer ones that are actually all flat with just a little bit of an indentation in the middle. You'll see all different types, and cable needles pretty much have the same sizes, or they actually do have the same sizes as your regular knitting needles. But that doesn't mean that you have to have a cable needle for each needle size. Usually they'll come in a pack of 2 or 3 needles, and a sort of a medium needle will fit a range of needles, regular needles. So if you're knitting, you're knitting up your project with a size 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 size needle, and again these are US sizes, and so in millimeters maybe around 3.5 to 5 or 5.5 millimeters. A cable needle like this will pretty much work for all of those sizes. And then if you're knitting with smaller needles, then maybe a thinner cable needle will work for those. So you do have to have a cable needle though, in addition to your regular needles, to try and do cables. But cables are really fun because with cables you can make patterns where you have wonderful effects. So here I have an example of a honeycomb cable pattern where you can see it's making a nice little sort of honeycomb design. I'm really into honeycomb stitches these days. And then here I have a lattice stitch swatch that I've made. I will be posting another video on the lattice stitch itself, but there's cabling technique involved here as well. So just wanted to give you a quick demonstration on how to do basic cables. So when patterns have cables, they'll have abbreviations like this, where you'll see it say C2F or C4F, C6F, C8F, and so on. And then you might see the same thing with C4B and C6B, C8B, etc. So what does that mean? Anytime you see an abbreviation like that, what that's telling you is, let's take this example, C6B. It's telling you that this cable stitch is going to affect a total of 6 stitches. Of those, you're going to divide it by 2, and of those you're going to work 3 stitches one way and 3 stitches another way. If it's a C4, again, you're always dividing by 2, and it tells you that you're doing 2 stitches one way, 2 stitches the other way. If you had a C8F or a C8B, then again you'll divide it by 2, and that means you're doing 4 stitches one way and 4 stitches the other way. And so let me show you really quickly how to do the cable stitches. It's really not that difficult. I have here just a sample. I'm using size 9 needles, and I've cast on about 14 stitches just to give me a few stitches to demonstrate this cabling technique. So because I'm using size 9, I'm going to go ahead and use my fatter cable needle. Let's put this one away. And I'm just going to knit the first couple stitches. Now you certainly don't have to have some amount of knitting done to get started on a cable stitch. You could start on a cable stitch right off the cast on edge itself. Now if your pattern, let's say your pattern calls for a C4F at this point, what does that mean? You're cabling 2 stitches, or a C4F would mean you divide it by 2, so then you're going to work 2 stitches one way and 2 stitches the other way. So a C4F, the F stands for front, and what that's saying is you take the next 2 stitches and you just slip them onto the cable needle. So you're inserting your cable needle as if to purl, and you just slip those stitches on. And the F stands for front, which means you're going to hold the cable needle in the front of your work, in the front of your actual knitting needles. Okay, then remember I said 2 stitches one way, the next 2 stitches we're going to knit. So because it's a C4F, we've taken 2 stitches in the front and we've knit the next 2 stitches. Now we take those 2 stitches that were on the cable needle and we put them back on the left needle. So again, just slip them like so. You're just slipping them back on, and you'll notice how the work has twisted here. It seems like the right needle is behind the left needle, and that's exactly how you want it to be. Once you've slipped those 2 stitches back on, you'll just go ahead, pick up your right needle and knit those 2 stitches. And that gives you a C4F twist. Oh, and make sure I don't split that yarn. Okay, and you can see how the twist happens here. Now if you had a C6F, you're dividing 6 by 2, which means 3 stitches in the front, and then you'll knit the remaining 3 stitches. So here we go, C6F. I'm going to take 3 stitches, slip them onto my cable needle, hold it to the front, and then I'm going to take my needle, my right needle, and I'm going to knit the next 3 stitches. And you can leave the cable needle pretty much hanging. It's not going to fall unless your stitches are super loose. Your needle, your cable needle is not going to fall off. If it does fall off, however, hopefully you can find those stitches and slip it back on. Okay, and so we've knit the next 3 stitches. Now we bring those stitches back from the cable needle onto the left hand needle, and we knit those. So the fatter the cable, as in the more number of stitches you're holding on the cable needle, the fatter your cable itself is going to be, and sort of the bigger the twist is going to feel when you're knitting the work. You could do this with just 2 stitches as well. You could take 1 stitch. If it's a C2F, you would take 1 stitch in the front. You'd knit this stitch, the next stitch, then you'll take this stitch, put it back on the cable needle, or put it back on your regular needle, and knit it. So both times you're doing a knit, and that would be just a single twist. Okay, so that's how you would do cable C4Fs. Now C4 backs, it's the same thing, except you're holding the first set of stitches in the back instead of in the front. So I'm just going to do a couple stitches here so that we get an area where we could do that. So let's say you're doing a C4B. Again, it's C4, so divided by 2, which means you're taking 2 stitches, putting them on the cable needle, but instead of holding them in the front like we did before, we're going to put them in the back of the knitting needles. Okay, now I like to, when the needle is on the back, I kind of like to hold on, use my other fingers of my left hand to just kind of hold on to that needle as I knit the next 2 stitches, because in my experience, for me, the needle tends to kind of slip when I'm trying to hold the stitches on the back. And then you take those cable stitches, or stitches on the cable needles, and slip them onto the left hand needle just like before, and now you knit those 2 stitches. So it's identical, the cable front or the back. The only difference is when it's in the front, you're holding the stitches on the cable needle in the front. When it's in the back, you're holding them on the back. Know that you'll always be knitting the stitches that you're holding on the cable needle second. So transfer the number of stitches on the cable needle, hold it in the front or hold it in the back, depending on if it's a C4F or a C4B, or a CF or a CB, and then knit the next number of stitches, and then transfer the cable stitches over. And so now you know how to do cabling front and cabling back. I hope you give this one a try. If you like the video, please click the like button. And if you want to see more videos, please subscribe to my channel, Knittycat's Knits. I will be posting a video on the lattice stitch, which will involve cables, and that's this stitch right here, as well as hopefully more videos on projects that use cables. I think I'm getting into my cable phase now. So hopefully you'll enjoy making cables with me. Thanks for watching.